fails, they go to plan B, right? They become obnoxious, they become rude, they become disruptive, right? And then when you call them out for being acting like an animal, then they accuse you of doing it. It never. How many times have we seen this happen, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's a form of covert aggression.
Yep.
Watch your language, by the way. I know I don't need to tell you that, but
The atheist cries out in pain as he strikes you.
It never fails. They go from plan A to discuss the issue intellectually. Then when the heat starts to get put on, but they get cornered by their own words, then they resort to being unruly. And then when you call them out for being unruly, they call you unruly. It never fails.
Who said watch your language? Who was that?
I don't need to tell him that, but I think it's just a reminder, so. But he always apologizes for it.
Yeah, Sir Elias is cool. Don't worry about him.
Oh, Sorelli said that. I thought
I get tired. I get really tired of these punks.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be pompous or anything.
No, I don't have a problem with you.
I thought it was like one of those sniveling scumbags.
No. I shouldn't talk like that.
Yeah,
but I just get tired of these little scumbags, right? It's like somebody getting interviewed by the police. Then the police officer has to arrest him. Then he gets violent. Then when he gets violent with the police, and the police has to up the aggression to protect himself, then he accused the police of police brutality.
Well, he tried to press on purpose, and unfortunately, he somewhat succeeded.
Well, they do it. They do it all the time. Look what Jim Majors did it in my first interaction with him. Shannon Q did it. Look at the rest of the people on Modern Day Debate. They pull this crap all the time. I mean, the guy actually said he actually said he didn't need to presuppose the uniformity of nature to explain a blade of grass being green. I mean, how colossally ignorant is that?
Yeah, he knew he was about to get shredded. He knew where it was going, and he didn't want. He'd rather it go to a place like this, where he presses your buttons and he gets banned in to make his position look stupid.
Yeah, and he's made his hasty exit. You know what? Rather than reprimand them over and over again, I should just mute them right away and say, "Okay, here are the rules. Don't ever talk."
Yeah, I almost muted him.
But it was like instant beef, that they foul. It's like it can't just be normal.
Normal is only something you can observe from a certain distance.
No, man. When someone says, "Look, don't overtalk," and then they overtalk, and then you go, "Don't overtalk me," you got to get louder because they didn't hear that first time. They didn't hear the second time. You got to say it louder. You shouldn't have to do that. That's what you do to 5-year-olds. There are people at the age where you can get on the internet, and there should be a level of maturity there. Obviously not for some people. They treat the internet like their own dumping ground. It's not like, well, I'm going to this person's house and just go in there and just go, hey, it's a nice house you got here. Let me just take a dump on the rug. You get kicked out for that.
Funny, I should try that sometime. I've never done that.
We should have the Rodney Dangerfield clip playing. Get no respect,
Hey, I get no respect.
Yeah.
That guy is so funny.
Oh, he's
My wife's cooking so bad, we pray after we eat.
That is funny. That is one name I haven't
He had
heard in
some,
a long time. Rodney
like even as
Dangerfield.
like the ones that like you went, man, that was pretty lame, but it was like so funny. It was so lame, it was funny. You know, it was because just had
I
a
used
way
to
of,
love my wife. She used to respect me. She doesn't respect me anymore. I don't love her anymore. She said to me, I was going to drive her to her grave. I told her I'd have the car ready in 10 minutes.
You ever see him on Johnny Carson?
Man,
He
he
always
just
cracked
had
Johnny
those
Carson
singers,
up.
dude.
He was
Oh.
the single most best person to crack Johnny Carson up.
Oh yeah.
Nobody made Johnny Carson laugh more than Rodney.
Yeah.
Remember him in Caddyshack?
Oh,
Yeah,
Hey,
it's hilarious.
scratch my anchor.
Ooh, look at this hat. I guess.
Oh, what do you get?
You bowl of soup.
You get this with a bowl of soup? Oh, well, it looks good on you.
Hey, baby, I bet you were something before electricity.
Tell the chef this tastes like dog food.
Yeah.
Rodney
Hey,
was
Darth,
hysterical.
Darth, I know you're a big Seinfeld fan.
I wouldn't call myself a Seinfeld fan, but I find some of the stuff amusing.
Time you told me to get a new mic. Well, I have a new one now.
Sounds pretty good.
What?
Yeah, so a few days back, you said my mic was really bad. So
Seems to be better now.
yeah, I think
Tell
so.
us about your atheism.
Right. So last time you asked me how would I ground the laws of logic. Well, I'm thinking if you want
Well,
to
I don't
play
even want to talk about that right now. I want to know about your atheism.
Right. Well, that's just the proposition that there is no God. Pretty simple, actually.
Good. Okay. How did you come to the conclusion that what is fundamental to reality is impersonal?
Because so basically I said that the basis of how I make sense of what there is using the laws of logic.
We're not on the same page here. Okay. There are two ways of looking at this. Either you will believe that what is fundamental to reality is personal, God, or you will believe that what is fundamental reality is impersonal. How did
That's
you
right.
decide that what is fundamental to all possibility? What is the source of all possibility? It's impersonal. How did you determine that?
Well, because on my view, there is just natural reality which is necessary. Well, on your view, God is necessary. So
That listen, all you're just doing is you're just restating your position. You're not explaining how you concluded that it is the case. Just simply stating naturalism is just restating that what is fundamental to reality, the source of all possibility, is impersonal.
yeah, that's right. Well,
Good.
I'm saying that on my view, it's impersonal because it's necessary that that is the case.
No, you're okay. You're not okay. Whatever. Listen to me carefully. When we have a thought experiment and we say what is fundamental in reality that is the source of possibility, okay, whether it's personal or impersonal, whether it's impersonal or impersonal, it will simply be necessary. That doesn't explain to me how you concluded that it was.
Right. Well, I feel like my view is more plausible because, like, what you're saying is like I'm not sure, therefore God. So
I didn't say anything to you.
right. Well, based on what I've
Did,
seen,
did I? Okay. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you've seen. Okay. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is tell me how you arrived at the conclusion that what is fundamental and absolute to reality, the source of all possibility, is impersonal. So far, you haven't even done that yet.
Well, I don't claim to know what is fundamental to reality because, like,
no, yes, you do.
All I
Yes, you
have
do.
is.
You're
all I
not
have-
understanding. Listen to me carefully. Either you will presuppose that what is fundamental to reality, the source of all possibility, you will either hold to it that it is personal or impersonal. So, how did you arrive at that?
I'm kind of puzzled by your question because, like, I'm not really sure what you mean by what is fundamental. Actually,
Do you believe that there is something fundamental to reality?
Do I believe? I'm not sure that that's something I can discern based on.
Okay, well then here's the problem then. Then your atheism is simply then arbitrary and not coherent.
Well,
Okay,
it's
because
based on.
listen carefully. Okay, atheism is the position that you believe that it is not necessary to reference God as the precondition of all facts. It could all be also stated as that you believe that what is ultimate and the source of all possibility is impersonal. But you haven't offered a justification for that. So then you are now adopting that what is fundamental to reality, the source of all possibility, then you are arbitrarily selecting that it is impersonal rather than personal. Now, if you're not doing that, you can tell me otherwise.
Well, all I've said is that atheism is the proposition that there is no God. So I'm.
Good. Is that an arbitrary declaration?
Well, it's a proposition. It's a belief.
Yeah. All right. Is English your first language?
No, it's my second language actually.
What's your first language?
Chinese.
Okay. Listen carefully.
Do you know what arbitrary?
How did you? Are you making that arbitrary? Are you making that proposition that there is no God arbitrarily or not? Is it without a reason, or do you have a reason?
Well, it's not arbitrary since I do believe I have reasons to.
Good. What is your reason that there is no God?
Well, because there is nothing which we can't explain without invoking God.
No, all you're simply saying to is because you imagine the world is a certain way other than God, therefore not God. All you're just simply appealing to is your imagination. This is the same thing. This is the same thing that Lawrence Krauss says. Oh well, we don't need God because we can explain the world naturalistically. All that's simply appealing to is your imagination.
Okay, look. So to make myself more clear, what I'm saying is like we can have two theories of making sense of why there is a world. One involves a God. One involves the fact that it's necessary that there is natural reality, and I'm saying that my view is simpler than yours. So therefore,
Are you
it's
gonna
more
stipulate theories all day, dude?
Yeah, Occam's razor isn't going to work for you. Okay, Occam's razor is not determinative. Okay, are you aware of that?
Well, the thing is, the way people get to the fact that there is one God is also by using.
Okay, all right. Listen to me. Listen to me. I see a pattern here. Okay, I ask you a clear, circumspect question, right? And you come back with an answer that is either unrelated or semi-related to my question without answering the question. Occam's razor is not determinative. It is a heuristic device of preference. Okay,
That's
it
correct.
doesn't get you to necessary truth. Okay, so I will ask you again. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to explain to me how you determine that there is no God. Have you, in fact, determined what is fundamental and ultimate, the source of all possibility, and that it is impersonal? Have you determined that?
No.
Okay, then your declaration that there is no God is arbitrary.
Well, there is no contradiction in my belief. So
Okay, yeah, there is no contradiction because there's no rationale there. You have no rationale for why there's no God. So
well,
there
why?
wouldn't be a contradiction. Where there's no rationale, then there's no contradiction. You're just saying there's no God. Okay, good. How did you arrive at that? And so far, you haven't given me rational grounds why there's no God.
Right. Well, I'm saying that. Well, the thing is, you haven't shown me reason to think that there is a God. So
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second? I asked you to tell me about your atheism, right? I haven't said anything to you about my model of reality. Well, the topic right now is your atheism. Okay?
right, all right.
So
Okay,
what you
well,
are now doing is rather than unpack and defend your atheism, you're saying, well, since and I'm gonna just give a description here. What you're actually doing is, well, I can't explain to you why there's no God. So you tell me why there is a God. Okay?
okay. Well, to be fair, the reason
Can you tell me why there's no God?
Okay, well, I really need to go soon, but what I do want to say is when I came here, I thought, because like even as an atheist, I am a fan of people like Bill Crane, and I thought that is
Okay.
what you guys would do, but it turns out,
Can
what's
you
happening?
defend why there's no God, dude? Can you defend that?
Okay, I'll come
Yeah.
back later, maybe. But
I mean,
need
are
to go.
you high right now?
No, I'm not high.
Okay, good. If you're not high, then tell me how there is no God.
I'm saying I don't have time for that, so I need to go now. So see you guys.
Wow.
That is
Amazing how
true.
he ran out of time.
There
Oh,
is-
arbitrarily.
wait a minute. Is Jesse Lee Peterson in here? Amazing.
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 that is true. There is not enough time for him to give you a rational explanation of how there's no God. That's true.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, the time he tried to explain why there is no God will be longer than eternity itself.
My gosh. Well, I'll be dead, and the rest of you will be in nursing homes and wheelchairs.
Well, no,
Yeah.
then he'll still be working. He'll still be working on it.
Amazing.
He'll almost be there.
Don't you love these atheists?
I don't have time for that. Well, you had plenty of time to do that when you came in here.
Amazing.
Well, you were talking to him for a good, 10, 15 minutes? Where was his justification in the first 10 or 15 minutes?
Well,
Why
he
was
tried
he
to
stumbling over himself?
he tried to bamboozle me.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about, we could talk about this theory and that theory. Ain't nobody don't nobody give a damn about your theories, sir. No one cares about your damn theories. Just get to the point. Justify your position why there is no God. Simple as that.
See why it's so important to stay focused on your line of questioning and not to be bamboozled by they trying to go down rabbit trails. Oh, you're back. So go ahead. Tell me why there's no God.
I'm back, but not for long because I have just a bit of time. Well, I'm not saying that there can't be a God. I'm just saying it's the worst view. I'm just saying that naturalism is just a better view because it's more theoretically virtuous. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
no,
saying
dude. All of what you just said is just gobbledygook, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Either you will affirm that it is necessary to reference God as the necessary precondition of all facts, or you won't. Okay? Are we clear on that point?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Now, excuse me, I'm chewing on something. Now, so your position then is that you believe that it is not necessary to reference God as the precondition of all facts, right? So that position entails that you believe that facts exist independently of God. If you believe that facts are independent of the necessity of God, then your position is that God does not exist. Okay?
I'm not sure about that. I'll need to.
No, okay, stop. That necessarily follows. It is ironclad. Okay? And let me explain to you why. In a world, okay, in a thought experiment, in a world where God is, by definition, where God is ultimate, the source of all possibility, then in a God world, there cannot exist even one fact that is independent of God. In a not God world, there will not even be one fact that depends upon God because God is defined as being ultimate, but God doesn't exist. So there can't be any facts that depend upon God because in that model of reality, God does not exist. So you will either believe that facts are dependent and derivational from God, or you will believe that facts are not dependent and derivational from God. Now, if you believe that there's one or more facts that are independent of God, then your position entails that God can and does not exist. So you need to stop this little verbal kabuki dance. And being that you're Japanese, you'll understand the reference to kabuki dance.
Chinese, I believe.
No, kabuki is Japanese.
No, he's Chinese. Or he said his first language is Chinese.
Oh, my mistake. My poor memory. Okay. So the point here is your position entails the falsity of God. You are because you failed miserably the first time you were in here a few minutes ago to defend the falsity of God. You now wanted to present it as a probabilistic concern, right? That doesn't work. So your position is that God does not exist. Now, I want you to explain to me how you determine that God doesn't exist.
Well, I'm not saying that it's impossible that God does not exist. I told you earlier.
Wow,
my
you don't
position
listen.
is
You
just
don't
that
listen. You simply do not listen. What you
I answered the
affirm,
question.
listen, do you believe that it is necessary to reference God as the necessary precondition of all facts? Do you believe that?
No.
Okay, since you don't believe that, that entails that you believe that it is not necessary to reference God as the precondition of all facts.
Eh.
Do you believe that it is not necessary to reference God as the precondition of all facts?
I think that's right.
Good. Then that means you believe that facts are independent of God.
That's correct.
But by the way, can I chip in?
Therefore, hold on one second.
Okay.
Therefore, since you believe that there are facts that are independent of God, right, then God cannot logically coexist in your world. Right? It's ironclad in it. No, it necessarily follows, sir.
Can I mention something?
Sure, go ahead, Barky.
Well, he said it. He said you said that it's not impossible for God to exist. Well, when you say that, you're no longer talking about God, because God isn't a possibility. God is that which dictates all possibility. God is that which is ultimate.
Okay.
He
Sorry.
possibility derives. He's not a contingency within a larger system.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, it's not unreasonable to believe that there is a God. So what I'm saying is,
Okay,
in
stop.
view, will you
You
let
are
me
complete.
finish?
No, I have to stop you because you're completely disregarding everything I just said to you. Do you believe that there are one or more facts that exist independently of God?
I told you my answer to that is yes.
Then God cannot exist in your world. Okay?
Well,
So what you do affirm is true, that facts are independent of God, right? They either depend and derive on something that is something other than God, or the facts themselves are self-derived, if you will, or they're self-existent. Okay, that entails the proposition of the falsity of God. So let's stop playing this little game, okay, that your position does not entail the falsity of God. Your position necessarily and logically entails the denial of God. Are we clear now? Because we've been over this 4 times.
okay, well, what I want to say now is that I feel like the God you're setting up is not the one I have in mind. So
No, sir, I gave you a minimalist definition of God. I gave you a minimalist definition of God.
Okay, well,
God
my
is that.
view of
Okay,
God is
please don't listen to me. When we talk about God, we're going to be talking about that which is fundamental in reality and is the source of all possibility. Okay, and is a mind.
well, the God I'm talking about is the God which in the Bible.
No, sir,
which-
no, sir. You see, listen to me. That's not atheism. Atheism is the disbelief in all gods. Disbelieving in some gods is not atheism, because theists disbelieve in some gods. You disbelieve in all gods, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that means you disbelieve that what is fundamental to reality, the source of all possibility, is not a mind. Now,
Well,
tell me how you determine that what is fundamental is impersonal and not a mind.
okay, well, you claim that God is a mind. Well, in my view, the reason we have mind is because we have a brain, and you'll claim that there's
Okay,
a mind.
wow. Okay, listen,
So that's
dude,
inconsistent.
I'm really beginning to
Therefore,
suspect that you're high. I'm really
I'm not
beginning
high.
to expect. Good, then you need to focus on what I'm saying to you, okay? You keep on responding to things that are semi-related rabbit trails than what I'm saying to you, okay? You believe that what is fundamental to reality is impersonal and not God. Is that correct?
Okay, Darth, I really think we're wasting our time here. I think I'm wasting
Okay,
your time.
bye. Yeah, you're wasting my time. Goodbye. Yeah, I removed him from the VC. Yeah, he is a waste of time. Huh?
Hello, Darth. So I have a question for you. So what is your opinion on divine command theory? Specifically like the meta-ethical version where you assert that and basically God could make any possible world where any moral proposition could be true or false.
No, I don't.
So all right. So what would you accept that morals are, or basically
morals,
that which constitutes something good?
Morals
Yeah.
reflect the eternal nature, character, and purposes of God in His plan of creation.
Okay, now, so the next question I'm going to ask you. So, do you know what the is-ought distinction is?
Yes.
All right. So, would you say that moral facts, or like the like subject and predicate, the subject and predicate conjuncted together, is analytically true?
Repeat that again.
So, would you say that the subject and the predicate of any moral proposition has to be the case necessarily?
What's your point?
Well, my point is, so if you're saying that from God's nature, the subject and predicate being together would necessarily be the case because God's nature is necessary. But here's the thing. These things existing, these are contingent things. Like, for example, the subject of a moral proposition being like a particular type of act being good or bad. That particular type of act being good or bad is contingent because it exists. It's like, you wouldn't say that like child rape is necessary.
Do you believe that only God is truly and completely good?
Yes.
Okay. And why do you believe that?
Because that's what was been revealed in the Bible. Here's the thing about that, though. I think that what makes something else good, the justification for any moral proposition, would literally just be God's commands. There's nothing else. Not His nature, His commands.
Well, is what everything that God says is true?
Everything that God says is true.
Right.
Yes.
Are you familiar? Have you read the Bible?
Yes. Are you going to pull? Or you say God can't lie, therefore it's from His nature?
No, I want to know to what degree you're familiar with the Bible. Okay.
God cannot lie.
Okay. Can you tell me what the first book of the New Testament is?
The first book of the New Testament, I'd say it's the Gospel of John.
Okay, here we have it. We have a phony here. He claims he's familiar with the Bible, and you just crashed and burned miserably. You just self-immolated, my friend.
Can you make the argument?
Yeah, you're telling me about the God of the Bible, yet you don't even know the name of the first book of the New Testament.
The ordering's completely irrelevant.
The argument, no, it is relevant. And don't try to boulder dash me. I wasn't born yesterday. I'm not stupid, okay, little man. I am not stupid. You're trying to tell me what God says in the Bible, yet you don't even know the name of the first book of the New Testament. You know what that tells me? It means you are ignorant of the New Testament.
Isn't it the Gospel according to Mark?
No.
It's the book of Matthew.
Okay, so you're telling me what God communicates, okay? What God says about Himself, right? You're listed as a Christian, you're listed as a Catholic, and you failed the first question within the test. You couldn't even tell me the first book of the New Testament.
A lot of atheists know the
look at this, and now he's server deafened. Okay, have it your way. He's kicked from the server.
A lot of atheists know the first book in the New Testament.
Yeah, that wouldn't mean that he was familiar with the Bible. It just means that he knew the first book. But the point is, if you don't know the first book of the New Testament, that's pretty bad. So this guy was just pretending to be Catholic. He was just pretending to be Christian, right? He just put that in his profile tags there, trying to boulder dash me with a lot of philosophy speak. Okay. I don't take it kindly when people try to deceive me. What wasn't very Christ-like, Jack?
Telling me to fuck off.
Who did I tell that to?
Anybody else hear that happen?
I said I didn't deny it. I said who did I say that to?
You said that to me.
And why did I say it?
I'm not sure. I was talking to Matt, and you kind of spoke over me.
Because I asked you a question. And what you did was, as a phony baloney atheist, you decided to go from plan A to discuss the issue intellectually to plan B to throw a verbal stick of dynamite into the conversation to blow it up so you could stalemate it. Because for some people, like yourself, stalemate is a victory, right? And that's exactly what you were doing.
Well, I'd be happy to discuss scripture.
Okay, well, here's the problem. Do you deny that's what you were doing?
I'll be honest, Matt was using a lot of big words that I didn't understand.
Were you being disruptive in order to stalemate the conversation?
Not purposely, but I can understand.
No, you were purposely doing it. See, now you're lying. I've been doing this for 10 years, you little man. Okay, that's right. I did, little man. Okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. Okay, I've seen every trick in the book. So you're not going to pull the wool over my eyes. I'm not stupid. All right, I wasn't born yesterday. Intention. Okay, no, it was your intention. Because when I said to you over and over again, I said, don't overtalk me. I had to raise my voice any number of times to let you know what the order in the room was. I told you that I was not going to tolerate your repeated insolence and just being disorderly. And yet you kept on wanting to do that. Well, why would you do that right after you were now cornered with your own words about the nature of the uniformity of nature vis-a-vis defending a blade of grass being green? This is a tactic that we've seen people pull on literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times.
Does that justify the language you used?
No.
Okay.
But it made me feel good.
At least you're honest.
Okay? And when people are a-holes like you, I confront them with harsh words because you were being an a-hole.
You don't have to insult me.
It wasn't an insult. It was an observation of your conduct.
Understandable.
Okay? You were being a complete a-hole.
All right.
And now you know you were being an a-hole.
What's that?
I said, and now you know you were being an a-hole.
Me?
No. You were telling him that he was being an a-hole. I was like, and now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
We have many long, vigorous debates in here with atheist people who completely disagree with us, right? And those times they don't end into a cluster fluster because we're dealing with people that have a high degree of maturity. But when we're dealing with immature atheists who get cornered by their own words, they realize that they have no out, so they go to plan B with a verbal stick of dynamite to blow up the conversation and ends in stalemate. And they walk away snickering, like that dog from the Saturday morning cartoons.
Right. It's an escape mechanism. No, I see that.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
To be fair, I advise that I am not an expert or a scientist, and you continue to ask me questions that I do not know the answer to. And I did answer out of my ass. I'll be honest.
And I can respect that. Okay, yeah. Nobody's infallible, and we don't expect you to be.
Yeah, I can respect someone who answers out of his ass too.
No, I respect him being honest that he did that.
Yeah, I know. I was just checking.
I mean, you must understand it's very overwhelming to come in here and have Matt using big words and things like that to people who.
All you have to simply do, have to do is say, Mr. Yester, could you please explain your extended vocabulary?
How many big ones I use? I didn't even use them right off the cuff. I just thought once we get down the brass tacks.
You talk so fast, man. There's no way I can keep up.
Okay, let's keep it really simple. Okay.
Yeah.
You believe that atheism is coherent?
Well, I mean, to me, atheism is the lack of a belief in a deity. So.
I didn't hear. Did you hear me ask for a definition of atheism?
Why are you so hostile to everything?
I'm not being hostile. I wasn't being hostile. Okay.
I'm just answering as honestly.
Why are you over talking me? No, you weren't. That was not an honest answer. I asked. Was that an answer to my question?
All right, ask the question again. I'm sorry.
So you don't know what the question was?
You yelling at me. I've forgotten. Can you repeat it, please?
Oh, so you don't know what the question was?
Would you mind repeating the question?
So you have short-term memory. Are you related in any way to Joe Biden?
You really don't need to insult people. It's really not working for what.
Okay.
No,
Well,
no,
you told me
that's
that
a
you were
compliment. Joe
you
Biden's
told
the
me
president
that
of the
you were
United
answering
States,
to the
sir.
best of your ability, but now you seems that you can't remember the question.
You asked me if I believed in atheism, I recall.
No, that's not what I asked you.
Okay, then would you please repeat your
Maybe,
question?
maybe the problem seems to be that you're not a good listener. Right? All right. So the question was: is your atheism coherent?
I believe so.
Okay. Can you please defend the coherence of your atheism?
I have no evidence that a God exists, therefore I do not believe.
Okay. So when you say there's no evidence, what that is referring to is that all the facts that you are acquainted with do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God. Would that be a fair characterization?
I would say that I've not been given enough evidence to subscribe to that specific belief.
Yeah, you definitely are a poor listener. Okay, would what you said be fairly characterized that you do not believe it is necessary to reference God as the precondition of all facts?
I don't think he understands that question.
Correct.
Well, then that entails from that God does not exist, because then you believe that there are facts that ontologically are independent of God. Is that correct?
Run that by me one more time.
You believe that it is not necessary to reference God as the necessary precondition of facts, right? So that entails that you believe that facts are ontologically independent of God.
Yes.
Okay. If facts exist independently of God, then God cannot exist, because God is defined as that which is ultimate and the source of all possibility. Therefore, God is defined as the precondition of all facts. So if you believe there are facts that are independent of God, then God cannot logically coexist in that world. So your position necessarily entails the falsity of God.
Correct.
It's not
Good.
merely
So-
that you don't believe God exists; it's that you deny He exists. He does
Yeah,
not.
your
exist.
position entails the denial of God, whether you admit it or not.
Not quite. I mean, the young gentleman preacher who brought me here, I was talking to him, and he asked me a very good question. He said, if you knew for a fact that Christianity was true, would you believe it? And to be honest, I do think that's kind of a gotcha question. That
Yeah, you're not focusing. Okay, what you have affirmed. Okay, listen to me.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
listen to me.
Yeah.
In logic, we have something called modus ponens. If P, therefore Q. Okay, you got that?
Mm-hmm.
If P is true or exists, then Q necessarily follows.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to assert to you that P exists. So what would necessarily follow? The answer is Q. You believe that facts are independent of God.
Mm-hmm.
What necessarily follows from that is God does not exist.
Let me think about that for a second.
Okay?
You assert facts as actual, as it being independent of God.
So when you just understand
you-
when you say facts, you just mean facts in general, any sort of scientific fact.
Any kind of fact that you want to think of. Okay?
So
you believe you do. Okay.
I don't.
You do not believe
When
that
you
facts
say- you just said-
necessitate. Parakeet, let me just finish.
sorry,
okay?
good.
You believe that facts do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God.
Yes.
So if a fact does not necessitate referencing God, and God is defined as the necessary precondition of all facts, then what you do believe is an indirect and implicit denial of God, whether you realize it or not.
So just to understand, you're claiming that all facts are derived from God?
Okay, look at this guy Noose in the Atheist Helpline, right? And not you. I'm talking about everybody in the room. So, can somebody give me a good reason not to ban this guy?
Very Dawson instant ban.
Okay,
Ball.
that's an instant ban.
Yeah.
Okay.
To answer your question, in a God world, yes, all facts would
Every
derive
fact.
in some way from God.
Yeah.
I mean, what about
If we're talking about an entity that we call God, that is not the source of all facts or the source of all possibility, then we're not talking about God. Okay, we're talking about a creature, right? That you call God.
Right.
Right?
I mean, I could understand like you saying that the fact of life per se. Your answer to that is God, but there's certain things that I would think maybe
are we clear? Well, can I? Are you an adult?
Yes.
Okay. In the last generation, I'm pushing 60 this year, right? In the last generation, last 40 or 50 years, the atheists have been essentially waving the white flag by changing that atheism is the denial of God to atheism is the lack of belief in God. They're basically trying to co-opt agnosticism, because agnosticism is the position started and coined by T.H. Huxley.
Theist, yeah.
To stake out a neutral territory, because he was uncomfortable. He didn't want to affirm God, but he realized, or he at least felt, that he couldn't defend the falsity of God. So he tried to strike out a neutral position, because it is true that you can be neutral about some things, but it is also true that you cannot be neutral about all things either. Now, so the point is this, is you and many other atheists in this last generation you're changing the historical, you're attempting to co-opt the historical meaning of atheism, where atheism is the falsity of God. Now your atheism is simply referencing an autobiographical statement of a psychological state that doesn't make any propositional content as to the existence or non-existence of God. Okay? But by the questions I've asked you, we smoke out what your real position is. Okay? Your position is that you believe that facts are ontologically independent of God. You've made that clear. So that means that God cannot logically coexist in your world. So by virtue of Mons Ponens, if P, therefore Q. Okay? Since you believe in the independence of facts, therefore there's no God. Okay? Good.
Right. They tried to let you avoid the burden of proof. They tried to let you avoid the burden of proof, and he's putting that burden back.
Right. I'm trying to show you that by what you have affirmed, necessarily commits you to the denial of God, whether you realize it or not, or whether you want to concede to it or not. Okay. So the reason why Matt de la Bloviator and all the rest of the atheists out there go to lacktheism is because they do not have the confidence that they can intellectually defend the falsity of God. So they hide behind this little game that, they're uncommitted, like whether or not there's an even or an odd number of gumballs or jelly beans in a jar. Well, that's a category error, okay? Because the even or odd number of jelly beans in a jar are not what is categorized as transcendentally ultimate and the necessary precondition of all facts. So now that we've cleared this up, your position entails that God does not exist. Okay, are we clear on that?
Based on my current understanding at this time, I do not believe that God exists.
Good. How did you determine that what is fundamental
No,
and
it's
the
not
source?
just that you don't believe God exists. You deny his existence.
Yeah, you actually believe there's no God.
Someone who
makes it
denies
sound
God
really
existence
malicious,
doesn't
but
believe
it's
he
not.
exists.
No, it has nothing to do with malicious. Okay, believing that what is ultimate and fundamental is personal or impersonal has nothing to do with being malicious.
Well, right.
Somebody's
Changing the verbiage. Do you mind?
Listen, there's only two positions. Either you will believe that what is ultimate and fundamental is personal, or you will believe what's ultimate and fundamental is impersonal. There's nothing malicious or non-malicious about those beliefs.
Right, but the burden of proof lies on those making the truth claim.
Okay, listen, the point is simply this, is you have affirmed, okay, when we ask you about your atheism, you have affirmed that you believe in your atheism of the independence of facts. Well, that is an indirect declaration that God does not exist. So your position,
that is a truth claim.
Atheism is the position that God does not exist.
Right.
Now, do you have any idea how many human man hours have been wasted? I should say person hours. Oh, but I can't say son because that'll be sexist. So we'll just have to say per. Okay. Oh, but then that would be imitating cats. Anyway, I digress. Your position is that God does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know how you came to that conclusion.
Based on the lack of evidence.
Now, That means that you've decided that all the facts around you do not necessitate referencing God as the necessary precondition.
Correct. I
Okay?
operate
How-
without that assumption.
Yeah. How did you determine that?
Logical reasoning, healthy skepticism.
Okay. Okay. What is that?
I don't know if I can specifically describe that, but
What's your
Why
logical
don't you
reasoning?
why don't you just do what Ralph Cramden and the Honeymooners
Those are
does
fancy
when he
words.
gets why don't you just do what Ralph Cramden of the Honeymooners does when he doesn't know how to answer? Just go hamana 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 hamana.
you're so condescending to people on here. I mean,
No,
you don't even know what I believe. Actually, I haven't even gotten to tell you.
I don't know that you believe there's no God.
He's the master of holding your feet to the fire.
Well,
Put it that way. Just you have to deal with it.
Okay, so how did you determine that all the facts that you're acquainted with are ontologically independent of God? Have you determined what is ultimate and the source of all possibility, and that it's impersonal? Have you made that determination?
Well, so just to answer the first part, I mean, my theories and my understanding of the universe and my existence work perfectly without a creator within them. So,
No. The question is not that you imagine that they work. The answer is, can you defend that facts are independent of God?
Yeah, I am able to comprehend facts and use them in my daily life without the assistance of a deity. So,
you're just restating the same claim.
Well, I can only state what I observe. So
no, you're restating. You're restating the same claim that you are in possession and have access to facts that are independent of God. Now, I want to know, how do you know that facts are ontologically independent of God?
How did you determine that God's not assisting you?
I mean, do you have an opposite to that? Can you claim that they are?
No. Listen, I didn't say anything about my model of reality. What we're talking about right now is the coherence of your atheism. Okay, that's all we're talking about right now. Okay, so what you just did is a classic bait and switch that atheists do. They get cornered. Okay, the moment atheists, when we unpack what the atheist says, what it entails, then they go, "Oh shit, I can't defend what I'm banned." Please let me finish. Okay,
sure.
You're doing classically what atheists do. They go, "Oh crap, I can't defend what I say." So now what they want to do is they want to put the monkey on the back of the other person. Okay, I'll be glad to discuss with you how I defend my worldview. I just want you to explain the coherence of your atheism. Now, have you determined what is fundamental and the source of all possibility, and that it is in fact impersonal?
Before I answer that, I just want to go back to what you said before. I just like to say something real quick. So
no.
Man, you're really not.
I want you to answer. Because I know, because I've dealt with, I converse with hundreds. We're not having a debate, we're having a conversation. But I am fully accustomed to the verbal diversionary tactics that people pull all the time. I want to know one thing from you right now. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is explain, have you determined that what is fundamental to reality and is the source of all possibility, have you determined what that is, and have you determined that it is impersonal?
Impersonal? What do you mean by that?
A rock is impersonal. Human beings are personal. They have a mind.
So do I determine that facts are impersonal is what you're asking?
Okay. I'm waiting for you to answer the question instead of dodging and delaying.
I'd like to have a good understanding of the question before I say something.
You're doing. Listen to me. You are doing the tactics that atheists do all the time. It's dodge and delay. It's a verbal kabuki dance. Have you determined that what is fundamental is impersonal?
I don't know.
So no. I didn't ask you if you know it. I said, have you determined it?
No.
Okay. So then, how do you know it's not God?
I have no reason to believe it is.
Okay, what is your reason to believe that it is impersonal?
Well, to add the caveat that it must be God would require something to back that up.
Okay, you're not answering the question. See,
I just answered the question.
No, you're not. You responded, but you didn't respond to the question. I said, do you have a reason to believe that what is fundamental is impersonal? What's your reason for that?
I don't understand that question. So I
but you understood when I said, do you believe that it is God personal? And you said no, you understood that. But when I say impersonal, you don't understand that. All of a sudden you're struck dumb. You see, I've seen this tactic over 10 years. People try different tactics. You're playing the dumb role. I don't understand. What do you mean by that? Oh, gee, what do you mean by this? What is up? What is down? What is chair? Okay.
Can we move on to another question?
Your position, no, because you haven't answered the question. Your position is your atheism rational?
I like to believe so.
Good. Then what is your rational basis that what is fundamental is not God and is impersonal?
Well, the fact that I have no evidence for the existence of God.
Okay. Again, you're just restating the same claim.
That is the central claim.
No, you're not understanding. Okay, we've been through this before. You tried that answer minutes ago, and I explained to you that is simply restating the same claim. What you're simply saying is you have decided that all facts are independent of what is ultimate, namely God. Okay, good. How'd you determine that? By saying, well, I determined it by all facts are independent of God, but that doesn't tell me how you determine it. You're just restating the same claim in different words.
So just to understand, the claim is that facts are impersonal, but then there's a caveat where you insert God and I do not. So since you insert God, I ask
your
for
position. Again. Listen, dude. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, and I strongly recommend you answer the question. Okay. Now, are you an adult?
Yes.
Okay. How old are you?
25.
Okay, I'm more than double your age.
Understand?
Okay?
No one.
I'm going to be 60. I'm going to be 60 this year. Okay. I'm not a stupid person. Okay. I have been dealing with atheists for 10 years on a daily basis. I've heard all of the mental gymnastics and verbal tricks. Your tricks are nothing new. Okay. All you're trying to do is obfuscate by your responses. You're answering the question. Now, how did you determine that what is ultimate and fundamental, the basis of all possibility, how did you determine that it's not God? And telling me that there's no evidence for God is simply restating the same claim.
I mean, you don't want to hear my answer, but
okay, what you just did right there is another one of the tricks that atheists pull all the time.
I only have one answer to that question.
Do not overtalk me, okay? Because I'll serve him each other. The next time you overtalk me, I'm going to serve him you. Okay? Now, what you just did is another classic trick. Rather than acknowledge that you can't answer the question, rather than be honest, you try to impugn me. That is a little classic little trick that atheists employ. I've seen it. I've seen, before you were old enough to shave, I had atheists pulling that little trick on me. Okay? Now, we're going to try one more time. Your position is that there's no God. I want you to tell me how you know that. Now, if you say there is no God because there's no evidence for God, then the question is, how did you determine that all the facts that you're acquainted with ontologically are independent of God? You would have to first determine what is ultimate and that it's not God, meaning you would have to know that God doesn't exist, because you would then know what is ultimate and not God, and therefore all facts would derive from that. So you have the cart before the horse. You cannot argue that God does not exist because there's no evidence for him, because you would first have to determine what is ultimate and not God in order to say that facts are independent of God. Okay? The reason why I'm asking you these lines of questions is because I have refined these questions down to their simplest components of talking with atheists. And that's why you and all other atheists resort to verbal trickery and verbal kabuki dances, because you cannot defend your atheism. So we'll try one more time. I will shut up. Now, please do not repeat your previous answers, because I've given them a rebuttal and you didn't offer a counter rebuttal. God does not exist because
Um, in my opinion, I have not seen evidence of God.
You're repeating what you said earlier. You're a dog going back to its
Therefore,
vomit.
I do not-
You're repeating what you said earlier. Okay. Why are you repeating what you said earlier? Because you don't know how to answer the question.
Can I ask a question?
You cannot listen to me. You cannot assert that nothing is evidence for God until you first determine there is no God.
Well, how can I determine without the evidence?
You're not understanding. You cannot assert and defend that nothing stands in causal relations to God unless you first determine what is ultimate. Have you determined what that is?
No.
Then your claim is vacuous. There's nothing behind it. You are adopting atheism either arbitrarily or because you don't want there to be a God, because if you acknowledge there's a God, there's sin in your life and you will be accountable to that God, and you do not want to give up your autonomy. You do not want to repent of your autonomy. Okay?
I disagree, but I understand your
Good.
point.
Then what's your rational grounds that there's no God? If you're not being arbitrary, or in actuality, your real position is you're motivated because you don't want there to be a God, if neither one of those are true, then you can explain to me why there's no God, how you came to that conclusion without repeating what you have said prior, because everything you've said prior has been debunked.
I mean, I might like it to be true if it could be.
No, you don't. That's not true at all.
How can you speak for me?
Why? Because the God that I believe in has revealed to me what your heart is and everyone else's heart is. That's how I can say it.
Do you?
And
I mean,
so
yeah.
far, you haven't shown that that's false.
If I were to be able to honestly believe that it was the truth, I mean, that would make my life a lot easier.
Do you believe that human beings can be a very deceptive organism on this planet?
Yeah.
Good. Do you believe that human beings can deceive themselves?
Yeah.
Good. You've deceived yourself that you're not motivated because you don't want God to exist. But you've collected all sorts of atheist slogans, catchphrases, and cliches to assuage your conscience, to hide from yourself that you don't want God to exist. You don't have one good damn line of reasoning why there's no God. Not one.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, this style of discourse could bring a single person to Christ with...
Yes.
You really do? Okay.
Yes, and it has.
But that's besides the point.
I would love to believe, but...
No, you don't. That's not true. Well, I could. Good. I'll prove it to you right now. You would love. Good. Good. Okay. Well, right there, that's an unsustainable proposition. You said I would love for him to reveal himself to me.
Yes.
Pregnant within that statement is that all of the facts that you're acquainted with do not necessitate referencing God. In other words, that God has not constructed this world in such a way that all the facts that you are acquainted with necessitate referencing him. Okay? God has revealed himself to you, but you don't want there to be a God. So you decided without reason that all facts are independent of God and that they don't necessitate God. I can show you right now why all the facts of existence demonstrate that there's a God, and that when you say, well, he hasn't revealed himself, he has. Your very own self-consciousness is all the proof that you need.
I was a Christian for 20 years.
Listen to me carefully. Your very own rational self-consciousness. Do you consider yourself to be a rational human being?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in order for you to be a rational human being, right, What is ultimate and fundamental would also have to be a rational mind that then constructs this world, imposes the parameters and regularities, and consequently imbuing and endowing you with being like himself. Because if you do not accept that your own self-consciousness is reflective of and derivative of what is fundamental and a mind, then you're going to have to explain how you can actually be a rational mind in a world which everything is shrouded in ultimate mystery. How can a mind exist where nothing is in control? There's no rhyme or reason ultimately or absolutely why anything happens. If there's no rhyme or reason why anything ultimately or absolutely happens, then can it be said that you are a rational mind? What if, let me give you an illustration here. This is an analogy. Suppose you get a severe infection. And the doctor says, I have good news and I have bad news. You say, okay, what's the good news? He says, this new experimental antibiotic is going to save your life. It's going to take 24 to 48 hours to work. But the side effect is for 48 hours, it's simply going to produce spontaneous thoughts from moment to moment in your brain that are unconnected and unrelated. But you are going to think that they are related and connected and that you're being rational. In other words, this antibiotic will induce 48 hours of schizophrenia. Okay? Now, so could you be a rational being if all of your thoughts were spontaneous and unconnected and unrelated? Could you be a rational being?
Probably not.
Okay, so in a world without God, on what grounds could you say that there is something fundamental and absolute that is instituting and securing the regularity of events? It doesn't matter that you believe. It doesn't matter that you believe that there's regularity. I want to know, what is it that's fundamental and absolute that would institute and secure that there is a regularity of events as opposed to all events are spontaneous and unrelated? Could you answer that?
I don't think I know the answer.
Well, then you have no grounds that you're a rational being in a not God world. Because in a not God world, you couldn't even posit the regularity of nature. You couldn't even posit and defend the causal principle, because what imposes it? You couldn't even appeal to laws of nature. Now, you could sit there and go, oh, the laws of nature say, look, we have predictive capability. Listen, in a sufficiently large world, if you will, I hesitate to use the word universe, but in a sufficiently large world, we could have spontaneous occurrences that simply appear to have a pattern of necessity when they're not. So the bottom line is simply this: your own self-consciousness is indicative that what is fundamental is a self-conscious mind, and it has created this world and imbued you with that. Because if you don't acknowledge that God has made things to reflect himself, right, then you will have no grounds whatsoever to believe that you are a rational being. And in fact, that's exactly what atheist philosophers and materialists are adopting now. Daniel Dennett, okay, and others, Sam Harris.
I was always partial to Hitchens.
Hitchens was an absolute colossal, immature little fool. Okay? The real reason he was an atheist had nothing to do with the reasons he gave. Would you like to? Would you like to hear the? Yeah. Would you like to? The real reason? Okay, why he was an atheist? Here, I have a recording. Let me get it for you. Hold on a second. All right, I thought I had the video here. Hold on. Here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the real reason why Christopher Hitchens is an atheist. Why is it
So
not playing?
what if God actually exists, sir? And what if he actually has provided everything for you? He's granted you life. He has given you health. He has given you food. He's given you the trees to write your screed against him.
By the way, were you aware that the fact that Christopher Hitchens was a bisexual and he was a lifelong drunk?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, he was an alcoholic.
Provided you royalties. It all came from him. What if that is true, sir? Would he not have been good to you?
No, he wouldn't, because if that were true, it would mean that I had an eternal supervising parent.
Okay, so did you hear what Todd Friel just said to him? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, I mean, imagine a child saying, Bill Gates sends you to Disney World. You can spend the rest of the year there. Okay, you got all free food, do the rides any way you want. Wouldn't Bill Gates be good to you there, Johnny? And Johnny goes, no, because I would have somebody looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Hitchens'
In other words, someone I'm accountable
conversation
to.
about a celestial dictatorship.
Yeah, this is psychotic. Okay, this is absolutely psychotic reasoning.
Would he not have been good to you?
No, he wouldn't, because if that were true, it would mean that I had an eternal supervising parent.
Okay, so the only state of goodness, according to Christopher Hitchens, is that he is God. Okay,
He's unaccountable.
In that clip, he goes on to talk about God being the equivalent of Big Brother.
Okay, you're not understanding. Okay, the only way to escape God as creator and as Lord is for Christopher Hitchens for himself to be God. Okay, so the only way that Christopher Hitchens could be in a state of goodness is that Christopher Hitchens would have to be God. But that's incoherent because God cannot make somebody else God. Okay, God is God simply by the virtue that he's a necessary being. So what Christopher Hitchens is claiming is that the necessary state of existence is not good. The absolute ground of all existence is not good. Why? Because he doesn't like it.
Yeah, I think my understanding is
that is psychotic.
I think
okay. Hold on. Are you listening to me? I'm dead serious. Okay, this isn't directed at you. This is directed at Chris. That is psychotic reasoning.
Right. I think he's saying if God does exist, then we are nothing more than his playthings.
No. That is a bastardization and a complete misrepresentation of theism. Okay. This is psychotic reasoning on the part of Christopher Hitchens. Why? Because he's an alcoholic. Okay. People who have an accumulation of sins in their life have a motivation as to why they don't want there to be a God. Okay. His reasoning here is psychotic. All right. I'm going to continue this.
Who would never die and let me get on with my life. I
would never die and he would never let me get on with my life. What the F does that mean? Christopher Hitchens, made a living by being a lecturer, orator, somebody with rhetoric, somebody who made a pretense that he was trying to exercise to the best of his ability, his great intellect. What you just heard there was the biggest pile of horse shit you will ever hear a human being say.
Sounds like a petulant child.
And I'm not an anti-theist per se.
No, this isn't directed at you. This is directed at Christopher Hitchens. I'm trying to show you that he is a hero to so many atheists, and he's a psychotic nutjob.
Grow up. Keep me under surveillance.
But you have, sir.
Wait a minute. He keeps me under surveillance. Well, wait a minute. Again, this is psychotic because if God is God and he possesses the attribute of omniscience, it's not something God chooses to do. Okay. He keeps me. See now. He says he keeps me under surveillance as though God was like the intelligence agency deciding to spy on his personal life. Okay,
as if God has no right to it.
Yeah, or prerogative to be entirely self-conscious of his creation.
And it's not even that God knows it; it's that God's sustaining your existence continuously. Right? Yeah. He imagines God just like started him going and then ran and then left. It's like peeking around the corner.
Yes. Supervising parent who would never die and let me get on with my life, never let me grow up, would keep me under surveillance
But you have, sir.
And supervision every minute of my life.
But you have.
Constantly ask me to be thanking and praising him.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is wrong with that? What is wrong in thanking somebody who thanks is due, and what is wrong to acknowledge somebody's authority? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay, for example, have you ever been in an American courtroom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what did you do when the judge walks into the room?
You stand.
Okay, what's going to happen to you in any courtroom in the United States if you don't stand?
The bailiff will probably ask you to leave.
No. No. That's not what's going to happen. You're going to be hit with contempt of court.
Interesting.
Okay. You know why? It's because when everybody stands when the judge comes in, that's an outward sign that everybody's acknowledging that he has the authority that he does as a judge. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That he's not just some schmuck who's a mob ruler, right? Right, and so this is psychotic reasoning on the part of Christopher Hitchens.
I think it would be
wasn't part of the scenario.
like living in North Korea. I think.
Okay, again, this is what the atheists do. They resort to the most bizarre analogies. Okay, so God deliberately puts people in gulags because they're not a part of the political party.
He
Really?
was big on Orwell. I think he's referring to the idea of thought crime.
This is psychotic reasoning, but it was the kind of reasoning that we should expect from an alcoholic.
Be a horrible outcome.
Well, not sure that God is Kim Jong-il, but what if what I said is true?
Ask Kim Jong-il, he has a different opinion.
So if that is the God who's made you and created you, he's allowed you to live your life, shouldn't that be a sign of kindness to you?
No. Oh. I don't want anyone's permission to live my life, thanks.
All righty. Well, it's...
No, but he wants to exist on God's dime. Okay? He wants to exist on God's dime. Okay? So, by the way, let me ask you this question. You know, Christopher Hitchens died a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that he made a strong effort to continue to live by going through chemotherapy?
Yeah, he wrote a book about mortality.
Why would he do that?
He wanted to write as much as he could before he passed.
Oh, but why would he want to continue? Because God gave him that life.
I mean, I don't think he acknowledged that.
Okay, yeah. Did you ever see the debate between him and William Lane Craig?
Absolutely.
Okay, did you see the Q&A section when William Lane Craig said, "Can you give me an argument for your atheism?" He didn't have one.
It's been a while since I watched it. I might have to look at it again.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. Okay, he kept on representing atheism as a kind of atheism, okay, where it was ambiguous, a kind of a lack of belief. And William Lane Craig, being way smarter than this drunk, said to him, you seem to be representing atheism as a kind of an atheism or non-theism. So within that umbrella category, are you just classically what we would call an atheist, somebody who denies the existence of God? Are you an agnostic where you just you withhold, you don't know one way or the other, or are you a verificationist because you don't know what God means? And Christopher Hitchens literally started rambling incoherently.
Started talking about how he didn't want to thank the creator.
Talking about Bishop Wilbur. He was talking about Bishop Wilberforce, Darwin's pit bull, and then he goes, "Oh, I become unwired with my headset." This is the man that so many atheists look up to. Okay.
The reason they like him is because he's got a slick tongue.
Yeah, and the reason why they like him is because he spews a lot of red meat and venom toward God belief.
You've been asked.
I think it's servile, and one is expected to constantly grovel as a result.
All right.
Where does God ask us to grovel? God is simply asking us to acknowledge what is abundantly true. Okay,
and more.
When we worship God, we're not groveling. We are giving absolute respect to whom one entirely and completely deserves our respect. Okay?
Christopher Hitchens, round 2 of What If. What if God exists? He's provided everything for you. He's kept you together by the power of his word. If that is truly God, do you believe that God, if he's provided everything for you, has rights on your life?
No.
That's psychotic.
I want to hear
right there. I'll play
Yeah,
it back
that's
again.
childish.
That's
That's childish
that is
reasoning.
no. It's worse than childish reasoning. It's psychotic.
In
That
other
is
words,
literally psychotic reasoning. Now,
in
we're
other
not
words,
talking
God
about
has
the
to
fact that he claims Christopher Hitchens is answering these questions in the thought experiment that God exists.
Mhm.
Right? He's not answering these questions from the position that God does not exist. He's presupposing the existence of God in order to answer the questions. Okay?
Okay.
So because he has a psychotic disposition toward God, because he desperately doesn't want there to be a God, what he has concocted is a whole long rationale using his rhetorical and intellectual skills as to why God is not good or why there shouldn't be a God. All this guy is, okay, it is shocking that so many atheists look up to this guy. All this guy was an alcoholic drunk who had a high IQ. That's it. Right? And psychotic to boot on that issue.
Does
Why should he? What gives him his right?
because he owns you. He's created everything for you. He's kept you alive.
No, see that? What gives him the right? Okay? As though, the question is, if God is not the source of what we call rights, then what is? If he says, if God himself doesn't have the right as God to create and order and control things according to his plan, then where do you get rights from? This is psychotic human reasoning at its finest.
I don't want to be owned, and I don't recognize anyone's.
I don't want to be owned. In other words, I do not want to acknowledge my creatureliness. That's all this is. That's all that is. I do not want to acknowledge what in fact I am, a creature made by God and in his world. That's psychotic.
Darth.
Well, you laugh, bro, Joe. If it's not psychotic, then what is it?
No, I agree. It's insane.
Look, he's not saying, hey, Todd, I object to what you're saying because there's no God. He's answering Todd Friel's question with the hypothetical that God is.
Can I?
Go
mention
ahead.
something? Well, I like the way the questioner asked the question because he said, if God is keeping you together by the power of his will, and I take that to mean God is sustaining your existence on a continuous basis by the power of his will, does he have the right to withdraw that at any point or change the conditions of your existence? And he says no. In other words, he's saying in a way.
Well, that's simply wrong because a right is a prerogative or a prerogative or a privilege that is the product of a statutory basis with an enforcement mechanism. Well, that's precisely what we call God.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's saying,
but in other words, what Christopher Hitchens is saying there is God basically has to be his bitch perpetually. He has to keep working for him, keeping in existence.
the way I understood it was the question saying, if God in fact created you and sustains you, does he in fact have a right over you to own you? And Hitchens is then saying, even if he did create me, I'm not a slave. I don't have to listen.
Wait. Where did you get that from, though?
Slave.
The questioner said ownership over your life, I believe.
Well, God created everything, so he owns everything.
But obviously he gives us free will. You would say so.
No, but don't you understand?
Okay.
Listen, some atheists might think that this is extreme, but I don't think it's extreme at all. I think what we're hearing out of his mouth is the psychotic rantings about how he hates God, and it's due in large part, or in part, due to the fact that he's an alcoholic. Okay, and he doesn't want to give that up. Okay, being an alcoholic is a symptom of human autonomy. Christopher Hitchens worships and is a slave to his human autonomy. He doesn't want to be a slave to God, I put that in quotation marks, but he wants to be a slave to his autonomy. So Christopher Hitchens doesn't want to acknowledge God, who is God as our creator, right? But he wants to acknowledge himself as God and worship himself as God.
Okay. I want to ask one question and then I got to go to bed. And this isn't this is just a personal question for my life. Maybe you can give some advice on. So, I was a believer for 20 years, at least. I was active in my church. I was in the worship ministry. I prayed to God every day, asked him for guidance, and he never responded. Never. I've never heard from God, and I really believed in him. So don't say that I didn't believe strong enough, because I did.
Oh, is God obligated when? But I think you have a mistaken notion about prayer. Is that God has to answer your prayers the way you want him?
I talk to people and they say that God speaks back to them. I hear that all the time from Christians.
So what? So what? What does the Bible say? When we have prayer, we're communing with God, and the first thing that we do in prayer, is that we're rightly acknowledging God for what he is.
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Now, I'm not saying that we should repeat that rote. This was a blueprint that Jesus gave. This is the blueprint. Prayer is first and foremost humbly acknowledging God for who he is and aligning ourselves. So whatever we pray for, okay, if it's not if it be thy will, Lord, okay? Okay? And so the fact is, if you pray for something and it's God's will, suppose I pray to God that he gives me a new car, right?
Obviously,
Just as an
yeah,
example,
right.
right? And the prayer should be, God, give me a new car, right? But I say, Lord, if it be thy will, give me a new car. If it's his will, he'll give you a new car.
Right. I was more asking these people say that God talks to them, and I've never experienced that. I'm just
Okay.
curious.
What kind of church did you go to? Was it charismatic?
It was a Church of Christ.
Okay, that's a cult.
No, not international. Sorry, it was a non-denomination. It was like the International Churches of Christ. Sorry.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is, God has never audibly spoken to me.
Okay.
There are certain small things that I prayed about that have come about, and I thank God. And there were very serious things that I prayed about that the way I wanted to come out, it didn't come out the way I wanted it. But you know what? Not for one moment did I not think for 1 second that God was not my loving heavenly Father. Okay, even if somebody had come and slayed my family. Okay, so it's like Job. Yet if he slays me, I will still worship him. Okay. The point is this: is you have a misconception about God, and you probably do because you were never born again. Okay. Once you were born, no, you weren't. You said you were a Christian. Okay. If you are truly born again,
if you
what
don't
happened?
believe God exists now, then you have to believe you were never born again, right?
Listen to me. Biblically speaking, if you are a Christian, that means that you have a radical change of mind about who God is, and then consequently you have a radical change of mind about who you are. You abandon your autonomy, recognizing your guilt before God and that you are under his wrath. When we do that, we then turn to Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. He forgives our sins, and then we enter into the realm of God's Spirit, whereby the Holy Spirit gives us a new nature. And that new nature that we will have forever seeks to want to please God. Now, while we are in this body, for a true Christian, they will have the old nature and the new nature, but they're still one person. And depending on what they reinforce and feed, which one will become stronger. And the New Testament makes that clear. When people say to me, oh, well, I used to be a Christian and all that kind of stuff, it simply means to me that they were not born again. They never received a new nature, all right? Because if you have a new nature, okay, then the Holy Spirit will be with you till the end of times and for eternity, and he's not going to forsake you, okay? You might be arrested by the police, you might be executed or even tortured, but the Holy Spirit will not forsake you, and he will always be there moment by moment, providing you with the grace to try to please God, right? But when you tell me you're a Christian, it just indicates to me that you're what the scriptures talk. And this isn't a put down. This is just an observation where we have people who thought they were Christians, right? They give mental assent to the things of the faith, but they were never truly born again. Because if you're truly born again and you've received from the Spirit a new nature, right? Then you will never ever completely defect, ever. You might stumble, you may fall. There are plenty of Christians who have tripped and fallen in their spiritual lives. Okay, but they don't completely defect. You want to know why? Because they can't, because they have the Spirit of God in their life, and they have that new nature that battles with the old nature. So that means that you were never a Christian to begin with. Okay, that's not a criticism. Okay,
I have a
it's not.
I have a question for him. Now
I
you said God never talked to you or spoke to you. So what would it mean for God to speak to you? What would you expect for it to appear like if God did speak to you? What would that be like?
I only said speak to me because the gentleman I was talking to before I came in here was saying that God speaks to him, so I was curious about that. But I guess if I was to really think about it, it wouldn't even necessarily have to be a audible speech. It would more or less have to be some sort of acknowledgement that he
Jacob,
hears.
And what's the content of that? What would that appear like? What is it?
Well, a sign of some sort, I guess.
well, can I just say
Well,
something?
that's not biblical.
Yeah, can I just say something? Jacoby, are you familiar that Jesus said in the Gospels, he said to the Pharisees, have you not read what God spoke to you? You understand that the scriptures themselves are God breathed, and so reading the scriptures is reading God's word to us, and in some sense.
Okay.
God has addressed everything that we need to know, either in specificity or in principle, in Scripture. Okay, Paul says all Scripture is inspired by God, God breathed, and is profitable for teaching, correction, and training in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, mature. Okay, God communes to us with His Spirit, but He's not going to be like a cosmic puppeteer talking to you audibly. There's no need for God to do that. And what we need to do is daily, when we seek God, turn to the Scriptures, and God will speak to us through the Scriptures as we read it, as well as the Spirit communing with us. But if you want God to speak to you audibly, okay, or to give you magical emotions, this is not biblical. Okay, I had a friend 40 years ago. He was a true believer, and he said he was dissatisfied with his Christian life. And he goes, "I just don't feel God is, communicating to me." And he goes, "I don't feel He's being meaningful in my life." I said, "What are you expecting God to do in your daily walk? Do you expect Him to do magic tricks for you?" Here, the Apostle Paul was struck dumb and blind on the road to Damascus, right? And Paul had trials and tribulations while in the remainder of his life, going from city to city throughout the Roman Empire, beaten, arrested, jailed. Couldn't he have said, well, if God really wanted me to preach the gospel, He wouldn't allow me to be beaten. He wouldn't allow me to be jailed. Well, yeah, God did allow all of that to achieve a specific purpose for Paul's ministry and life. Okay?
Darth Dawkins, I have a question.
Go ahead.
How can you believe in something that can't be scientifically proven?
Oof. Good luck. I gotta go to bed, but I enjoyed this
all right.
conversation.
Well, please come again. Listen. We didn't agree on certain things, but I think we made more progress today. Okay.
I feel bad for the next guy, but have a good night,
Can you,
everybody.
do you believe in science? Whoever asked that question.
How can I believe that in something that can't be scientifically proven? Well, because in order to believe in science, you have to believe in certain foundational beliefs that cannot be scientifically proven.
As in?
The fact that something is absolute in existence that will secure that there are regularities unseen. Okay? Can you scientifically prove that?
I'm
I think you're gonna
sorry,
have to.
repeat.
I think you're gonna have to dumb it down, Darth.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm nuts.
Okay.
I don't mean
the
that
problem. The problem with Western civilization is they're deceiving both young and old alike to believe that the only beliefs that are worthy of belief are those things that you can verify either through your senses or through empirical methodology.
Roboting Darth.
But that is a self-refuting concept, right? Now, I can agree with you, or I should say we can agree with you, that for some things we want some empirical support for it. But the idea that everything that we believe...
And anybody else?
What's that, Tippy? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear Darth.
I got to come up with some... Can you hear me? Hello?
I think she's reconnecting. I think she couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Tippy Bear? Hello? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I think we can hear you. I think
Yeah.
the
She's
problem on her
muted
end.
right now.
Okay. Well, I think she used up all her batteries on her Gator machine detecting that Thomas Westbrook was a queer. She got to get new batteries. Okay, so yeah. Well, that's another subject. Okay, so Malta, right? There are fundamental beliefs that you must believe before you can believe in scientific endeavors. But those fundamental beliefs cannot be demonstrated through scientific methods. Okay, so does that answer your question? Hello?
Probably stepped away.
Okay. Yeah, that's ramen. That's reminiscent of Aaron Ramen Noodle Bat Guana Crazy, where he he says he only believes things based upon evidence, and he keeps on repeating this crap over and over and over again.
I mean, it just makes me wonder if people spend anything more than 5 seconds thinking about the stuff they say, or if they just, come up with stuff off the top of their head.
Yeah. Well, what's Aaron Ramen Noodle evidence that something is absolute, and that institutes regularities? What's his evidence for that?
Yeah, you're just gonna hear crickets on his side.
That's why.
Oh,
That's
no,
why I call him.
You'll hear a lot more than that, but none of it will be an answer.
Yeah, that's why I call him Aaron Ramen Noodle Bat Guana Crazy. Right? Because he is. And it's a shame that Tom Rabbit interfered, because that would have been a great interaction between myself and Bat Guana Crazy Aaron Ramen Noodle. Hey, guess who's begging me to come back to their server? Now that we're having packed out rooms every single day, Doobie's now sending me messages begging me to come back.
Doobie has Muslim mods. I don't even want to be in there.
No, he stabbed me in the back 4 or 5 times already. Okay. I'm not saying, I will never say never like Sean Connery, but it's highly unlikely I would go back.
Well, the religion room, I just went in there, and there's a little 13-year-old boy claiming to be bisexual, and everybody in there is encouraging him that that's a good thing.
Yeah,
So
they're
you
sick puppies, aren't they? They're sick.
How do you talk to a child like that? It's disgusting.
They're perverts.
What the fuck?
These people are reprobates.
He's a 13-year-old child.
Failed father. That's what you got there.
Something. It's something. And then to come
Yeah,
online.
that's what happens. You let a little boy have access to the internet unsupervised or unfiltered, and this is what you get.
Unsupervised. That's the issue. All my kids have access to the internet, but I am on top of them. So.
Well, it's not a problem that they have access. The problem is that it's that people give unrestricted.
No, I know exactly what apps they're using. I know exactly when they're using them, and I check their phones and stuff all the time. So we do.
Check their browser history.
Yeah. Plus,
and make sure they don't know how to use incognito mode.
No, I do a phone check. That means, like, if you're using the phone, I grab the phone out of your hand. It's not where I pick it up after you've gone to bed. No, you're going to show me right now what's on your phone.
This is called Tippy Bear software.
Well, yeah, because if there's even a hint of suspicion that they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing, they lose their phone. That's it. They lose their phone or they lose their internet.
TippyWare software.
Tippy Bear's mommy software.
Yeah, it's just we have rules in this house, and if they're not adhered to, then you lose privileges. That's just it. And I think every parent should raise their children that way.
I am so glad. Listen, I am so glad that I don't have to raise little kids anymore in this day and age.
I think you should go back over there, Darth.
Well, I haven't entirely ruled it out. Probably what it would take is I would have to have a complete admin status. Okay.
I think that's fair.
Nobody could stay, but because the last 4 times these admins would come, they would troll me, they would piss on me, they would come into my room and troll me and all that kind of stuff. No, but he's seeing in here we're having this room regularly packed out every night, night after night after night. We have a lot of people in here. We have during the day we have a good amount of people, and he wants that kind of substantive traffic. The kind of traffic he's getting is just trash talking.
That's exactly what it is over there. Darth, I have a question for you. I was watching.
Hold on a second. I just checked my database. You did not contribute your $2.25 to the Darth Dawkins fan club this month. What's the problem?
Shoot. I'm waiting for.
I mean, I can give you a pass this month, but next month I can't give you a pass. Right? So please pay your dues.
Got it.
Yeah, or you're gonna get banned for trolling.
I have to get my shekels because I'm paid by the Jews according to every Muslim. So let me get my shekels.
It's only $2.25 every month. Come on.
I know. I'm waiting for my shekels to come in the mail.
I said that to somebody one time. Somebody goes, "You have a fan club?" I go, "No, but I have a hate club."
So, Modern Day Debate says that you won't go on there. James said that because I don't know what happened. Something about he laughed, and he said that you won't come back there.
He was being unfair.
James picked out every single person that he selected. Every single one of them were literally trolls on camera. Okay, during the interaction, they're complete trolls. He acted like the big sissy boy. He wouldn't even moderate. And then the last 2 times I was on while he was hosting it, I warned him ahead of time in private conversation, and I told him I don't dislike him personally. I dislike how he moderates. And I said, listen, I'm going to call you out to your face. I said, I'm going to purposely humiliate you in the middle of the debate if these people start trolling me and you don't do anything to stop it. And I said, you understand that's what I'm going to do if that happens? He said, yes. Right. And so he sat by, let these people troll, didn't do anything about it. Now, I was on Modern Day Debate a couple of weeks ago where Converse Contender was moderating.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were somewhat happy with that one.
Yeah, I thought that Converse Contender could have been a lot better, but it wasn't like I was very unhappy, I thought that Mark Drysdale was a bit immature in his debate style, but it wasn't where he, I think, crossed the line where he was, trolling as a tactic.
All right, because I would definitely like to see you on there. I think you do a fantastic job, and I do think
I want to do more debates with these atheist YouTubers out there, but most of them are spineless cowards, right? And they only want to have an interaction where they control the mics, they can control the mute button. We had this is so funny. They had one of the talking heads who's a professional lawyer come in here. He wouldn't even talk about his atheism, but he goes, "Oh, Talk Heathens want you to call in," meaning Eric Pernboy Murphy, right? And then Eric Pernboy Murphy in the opening announcement says that the lines were open for me to call in. Now, I know full well that they had some recording that they were trying to sandbag me with. So we had somebody call in, right? It was Truth Speller, right? And Eric Pernboy Murphy was muting him while pretending not to mute him. We have on videotape, we have one scene where you can literally see him. He looks down to the right where the mute button is. You can see him look at it. He presses it. And when he presses it down to lock in the mute, or to push down the button, you see him lift off his hand, and then he brings his hand to his chin nonchalantly like he wasn't doing anything. And then he goes, "Oh, I guess we lost Bill." All right. I mean, this is the game that these clowns play. I just want a level playing field, right?
I get that. I mean, that's cowardice. But you know, I again, like and I totally get that because you know, if I go into these Islamic Dawa, you know, things and their mods, like how Doobie has a Muslim over there that's a mod, they mute me, and then dogpile, and they call in all their friends because they can't fight their battles one on one because they'll lose.
Doobie has a weird propensity for giving mods to the most obnoxious and ignorant people.
He's gonna destroy his server. It'll be destroyed from the inside out.
Good. Let him.
Good.
He sees night after night we have 20, 25, 30, 35 people, 40 people in here on a regular basis. You know, he wants a piece of that action.
So you will go back onto modern day debate then, but just not have James
Only
as moderator.
only under certain provisos, okay?
Yeah.
I requested that Converse Contender ask Matt the Lebloviator. He refuses. Matt the Lebloviator won't come on. Okay. Look, they don't. What they want is they want it where it's not a level playing field, or where they can just monologue and run the clock out. That's what they want.
Which
Look
is
what
exactly
happened.
what they do.
Look what happened with my first debate with Shannon Q. Ducklips. Right. Look how obnoxious, abusive, and evasive that she was. Okay. Why does she do that? Oh, and by the way, she did another video commenting on that. Right? She was on with Myth Vision, the YouTube channel. Okay. And she completely flipped on her position. This time she was saying she's a strong atheist. When I asked her to explain how there's no God, she told me she's a temporal agnostic.
It's
I mean, she talks out of both sides of her mouth because she knew she couldn't defend it in my presence. But then she goes on friendly territory and goes, "Oh yeah, I'm a strong atheist. I see that there's a zero possibility that there's a God."
That's
right?
a cop out. It's
You should watch it. Do me a favor. You've seen the interaction between yours truly and Shannon Q. Duck Lips. Okay,
I haven't seen. I've only seen Shannon Q on a couple other things, and I feel like her debates or her arguments are, well, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence type.
That's an okay.
Nonsense.
When somebody says that, you know they're an atheist imbecile because all they're simply doing is they're channeling Christopher Hitchens and Carl Sagan.
Oh yeah.
So
no,
if God,
that's what I'm saying.
well, how about
That's
this?
the type of atheist I see her as.
Okay. I've got an answer for everyone, all you believers out there. The next time a dumb atheist says extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, all you simply say is this. Okay, so is God an extraordinary claim that requires extraordinary evidence? They'll go, yes. Say good. So asserting that what is fundamental to reality. Okay, say it like this. So asserting what is fundamental to reality, to all dependent facts, stating that what is fundamental and ultimate, the source of all possibility, is personal, is an extraordinary claim. Is asserting what is fundamental and impersonal, the source of all possibility, is that an extraordinary claim?
Yeah, it is.
I
think.
Well, then they require extraordinary evidence for that. Yeah. But do they have that? No, they don't. So you see, their criterion of belief, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, is simply an atheist cliche that they don't follow.
No, I agree.
Someone
and I think
else
that saying that is an extraordinary claim in itself.
I've also heard someone else ask them what their evidence for that claim is.
They don't have any.
Look, it's just another one of the multitude of atheist cliches that they think are erudite statements when they're not.
Oh, I believe it was William Lane Craig who said that. He said something like, "Well, why would we need, if there's an extraordinary claim, where are you getting the evidence that you need extraordinary evidence for it?"
Look, all it is it's extraordinary. If something is extraordinary, why would you need extraordinary evidence? Why don't you just need regular evidence?
Yeah,
okay?
it literally takes just basic evidence.
Yeah, why would it be? See, this is because atheists only deal in cliches. They don't deal actually in logic. It's just cliches, slogans, and catchphrases.
It's I like when they believe it's your job to convince them. That's your job to convince them of something. Like you're a
Well,
salesperson. You have to
well,
sell God.
the point is Christians need to understand we are not neutral. We shouldn't be neutral. We can't be neutral, and they're not neutral, and they can't be neutral.
You
Right?
just say, I just lack belief in a not God world. I haven't seen any evidence for it.
That's
I don't.
clever.
I don't see any. I don't see any evidence that what is ultimate and fundamental, the source of all possibility, is impersonal. I don't see any evidence for that. And they're like, "What?" You see, they think that they're in the. They just what they're doing is they're not thinking of God in terms of the creator-creature distinction, where there's God and creation. They're thinking of God as simply the cosmic boogeyman that's smarter and more powerful than everyone else, so they can take a position of incredulity or that they're unconvinced. But that's not the definition of God. God is that which is ultimate and the source of all possibility. Now, if you don't believe in that, if you lack belief that what is ultimate and fundamental is personal, then by default, you will believe that what is fundamental is impersonal. But you see, they don't, the very criterion of belief that they insist to believe in God will give me proof, demonstrate that you're God, demonstrate that what is fundamental and absolute is personal. Good. Has it been demonstrated to you that what is fundamental is impersonal? See, when you put it in those terms, their position, their non-neutrality is exposed.
Well, then they cry that you're working off a presuppositional argument.
And you say, and so are you. Okay? You are presupposing that what is fundamental is impersonal, right? You know, they sit there. Look, atheists of this generation, with few exceptions, have basically they're basically waving the white flag of surrender, even though they're not admitting it. How do I know this? Is because they no longer will defend there's no God. They'll boldly say there's no evidence for God. Say, good, unpack that. Tell me how you know that. And then they'll say, well, I have yet to be convinced that there's any evidence for God. Good, you're restating the same claim again. Please defend that statement. They'll say, oh, well, then they say, oh, well, you're shifting the burden of proof. We're not the one making the claim. Say, no, you are making a claim. What you're saying is all the facts that you're acquainted with don't necessitate referencing God. I want to know how you came to that conclusion. And they're like, no wonder a lot of atheists don't talk to me, because I cut through all of the bull crap, right? I get down to brass tacks. Here's what I believe. Here's what you believe, right? You don't accept what I believe. So when you don't accept what I have presented to you, when you know who Pine Creep is? Doug from Pine Creep, Tippy Bear?
No.
He's a sleazy atheist evangelist on YouTube. And he had a call-in show.
Aren't they all?
Oh,
Yeah,
he's special. He reminds you of like a car salesman.
Yeah.
Like a dirty one.
He's really special. You see, that's why I call him Pine Creep. The name of the show is Pine Creek. I call him Pine Creek. So I've tangled with him 2 or 3 times, and he does not want to defend his worldview. All he wants to do is say, tell me about Jesus. Why do you believe that Jesus walked on water? All he wants you to do is get on the treadmill of evidentialism while he sits there back picking his nose going,
What happens when they're following? If they become Christian, what happens to their following? Do you think their following just falls away? I'm wondering because
which of these people have become Christians?
Okay, so I was watching Jordan Peterson's interview about Christ, and I think he kind of had an aha moment there, and I only recognize it because I've seen Muslims have this same aha moment when they leave Islam and realize that it's false. And so I was watching that and I'm thinking, if he actually believes what he just had stated, have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Can you link it?
Let me see if I can find. It's just a short clip, and maybe Darth can play it. But it's kind of like an aha moment. He's not claiming he's a Christian. He's just claiming that it's very plausible that he could believe that. Hold on.
Jordan Peterson's
He
a
gets,
big crier.
yeah, he gets very emotional. This is just a 2-minute.
It's
All
an
right, I
atheist.
will. I will.
Wasn't he crying in that interview? Like, I think I saw that.
He cries all the time. It's barely an interview. He
Yeah,
doesn't
but
cry.
he's had issues with benzo dependence.
Where do I do this?
I'm gonna stream it.
Where do I post it? Atheist Helpline?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it right now. I'm gonna stream it.
Okay.
No, maybe this isn't the right one.
Here, it's in the Atheist Helpline. I posted the one of them that I've seen.
Politics and on gender. He's also someone who's talked a lot
This isn't
about
the
the
right
Bible and Christianity, although he himself is not a Christian. Now, for me personally, I'm
is
not
not the right
intimately
one.
familiar with his work from a recent podcast.
The critic, my critic, this particular critic that I've been reading, said, well, that doesn't differentiate Christ much from a whole sequence of
seen
dying
this.
and resurrecting mythological gods. And of course, people have made that claim in comparative religion. Joseph Campbell did that, and Jung to a lesser degree, I would say, but Campbell did that. But the difference, and C.S. Lewis pointed this out as well, the difference between those mythological gods and Christ was that there's a representation of, there's a historical representation of his existence as well. Now, you can debate whether or not that's genuine. You can debate about whether or not he actually lived and whether there's credible objective evidence for that, but it doesn't matter in some sense because this, well, it does, but there's a sense in which it doesn't matter because there's still a historical story. And so what you have in the figure of Christ is an actual person who actually lived plus a myth. And in some sense, Christ is the union of those two things. The problem is I probably believe that, but I don't know. I'm amazed at my own belief and I don't understand it. Like, because I've seen sometimes the objective world and the narrative world touch.
I love when he cries.
You know, that's Jungian synchronicity.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I think it's vulnerability.
I think that somebody's. I think it's a man who's a very profound thinker. We might disagree with him on certain issues, even our worldview, but nobody can accuse him of not really trying to be a profound thinker. And I think that if he's crying like this, he's really emotionally touched. He's not being a little wimp. He's not being, how shall we put it? He's not being a Thomas Westbrook.
And I've seen that many times in my own life. And so in some sense, I believe it's undeniable. You know, we have a narrative sense of the world. For me, that's been the world of morality. That's the world that tells us how to act. It's real. Like, we treat it like it's real. It's not the objective world. But the narrative and the objective world touch. And
what's that?
So it's not really real, though.
the ultimate example of that in principle is supposed to be Christ.
You got to remember that he has a history of being strongly Jungian. Okay. So you have to be careful about, when he's talking about Christ, what is he precisely talking about?
You're going to see.
But I don't know what to, that seems to me oddly plausible.
Yeah.
But I still don't know what to make of it. It's partly because it's too terrifying a reality to fully believe. I don't even know what would happen to you if you fully believed it.
If you believed in the story of Christ, or if you believed that history and let's say the narrative meet,
both, I think. I think you, because when you believe that, you buy both those stories. You believe that the narrative and the objective can actually touch.
There's so much here that we can talk about,
Yeah,
but some of you might be wondering what exactly.
Okay, somebody send this guy a memo. Get rid of the Mentos on your ears. Okay, doesn't want that.
Oh, he can't. He has the cochlear implants.
So what does that have? I've seen people
I
cochlear
don't know.
implants.
I can't really see on this screen.
No, I'm talking about not Jordan Peterson. I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're talking about John McCrae.
Yeah, with the Mentos on his ears. That has nothing to do with cochlear implants.
Well, he has the cochlear in both his ears.
That's fine, but those Mentos have to go. They don't look good.
I'll tell him.
Is happening in that clip. So let me see if I can
I mean, I could have been nice. I could have said Junior Mints.
help to translate a little bit. It seems to me that Peterson breaks the world down into two different spheres, the objective world and the narrative world. The objective world is where all of the tangible things exist, things that can be observed and detected with the five senses. But the objective world doesn't inherently have any psychological content. It's like looking at a book and only observing the physical aspects of the book. Now, you'll notice that the book is filled with these pages and markings, but the markings don't have any objective meaning. Any meaning that we can attribute to the book is found in the story that the book tells, but the story doesn't have to be true in order for it to be valuable to us. And this is where the narrative world comes in. The narrative world is the place where we tell ourselves stories that give the world interpretation, personal fulfillment, and a sense of meaning and purpose. You can think of this world as containing a bunch of useful fictions that make life valuable and meaningful to us, but it doesn't tell us anything about the way that the world really is in reality, in the objective world. Even though these fictions are pragmatically useful and some are more useful than others, none.
Well, that's it. There's no more of Jordan Peterson here.
Yeah, that's it. So what did you think about that?
I don't know what to make of it because given his strong propensity for a Jungian interpretation of life, when he's talking about Jesus or Christ, I don't know what he means by that.
Well, he's been doing Bible studies, and I think he was just doing the Old Testament. I think he's gotten to the New Testament, and this is his outlook so far on the New Testament.
Oh, great! Maybe he's beginning to see the light that his
Yeah.
Jungian outlook is just garbage.
What do you think about such a Jungian outlook, Darth?
Say that again.
What do you think about someone having such a Jungian outlook on life?
It's idolatry. It's a false worldview. Carl Jung was probably one of Freud's greatest disciples and very famous in the area of psychology. He was heavily into the occult. He had a personal spirit by the name of Philemon who communicated with him. And this is the way he came up with many of his concepts through occult contacts. Right?
When you say he's doing Bible studies, do you mean that he's doing them in a church-like sense, or do you mean that he's reinterpreting passages in the Bible according to his worldview?
You see, in Jungian thinking, and I'm by no means an expert on this, I just know a little bit to be dangerous. Jung felt that there were these archetypal ideas that are passed down from generation to generation. They're thematic material. Okay, and I'm not impugning Jordan Peterson. I don't know what he believes now, but I would be wary until I see reason to believe otherwise that he would be prone to interpreting the Bible through at least some Jungian filter. Okay, unless he showed clear evidence of abandoning that. Don't get me wrong. I like Jordan Peterson. I like that the guy's got chutzpah. I like that he's outspoken. He uses a lot of good critical thinking. I like how he nails many of his opponents. Like they'll emote sometimes and they'll say, "Okay, good. You just gave us a hierarchy of values. Where do you get that from?" Right? Unbelievers they don't like being questioned when they invoke their values, right? And ask their values to be grounded.
Did you like his conversation with Dillabloviator?
Oh, it's nauseating listening to Matt Dillahunty. You know?
I know, but I felt like Jordan did a good job.
I thought it was listening to one idolatrous concept of the world fighting another one.
Yeah.
I thought it was one speculation raised up against another one.
Yeah, it's just that Jordan Peterson's view was slightly less bad than Matt Dillahunty.
Yeah, because I remember a year ago that people were saying Peterson was a Christian, and I was like, okay, really? The guy denies the resurrection. He's a Christian? I don't think so.
Yeah, whenever somebody of notoriety is claimed to become a Christian, I want to see a good interview with them for my own satisfaction. And until I see something like that, I take it for granted that they're not.
Well, do you remember the part where there was one time when he was being interviewed and someone asked him if he believed in God, and he said, I don't I don't want to be boxed in."
I don't want to be boxed in.
That's like some of the atheists when Darth asks him the true dichotomy. I don't want to be boxed in, bro.
You're committing the black and white fallacy, bro.
It's also fair to say that he's still learning about his own beliefs, right?
Well, if he's going to represent himself as a true Christian, he's gonna have to do more interviews and carefully express himself.
Well, he better clean his room because he doesn't have much time left.
Personally, I think
By the way, that was the first clip I had ever listened to of Christopher Hitchens, and that was the formidable Christopher Hitchens that Christians feared for decades.
He wasn't formidable. The only thing that he's good at, I mean, it's not that he doesn't have a low IQ. It's just that he's a very good orator. Okay,
Yeah,
he's very
his
good.
rhetoric.
He's just good at rhetoric. He's entertaining to listen to. Beyond that, it's garbage.
Darth, you're also a really good orator and rhetorician, I gotta say.
Well, Christopher Hitchens is no longer an atheist.
Because he died and met God?
He's holding hands now with Madeline Murray O'Hara.
Is that who O'Hare Airport is named after?
No.
So is this bizarre or what?
No. Oh, no.
Darth, did you have
O'Hare
somebody,
Airport, that's in Chicago. Yeah.
Darth, did you have somebody in this server that just came in and left named Pluto?
Yeah, there was somebody in here named Pluto, and
Okay,
he either spoke up or he wrote something in text.
Well, no, he messaged me. He said, "Are you homophobic, or do you just not want your children to be gay?"
Oh, I think he posted that he was bisexual.
I said, "If my child was gay, I would still love them. As a Christian, I am to love the sinner and hate the sin. Homosexuality is a sin. I don't think that young children should be persuaded into believing this is the norm." And then I asked him, "Are you Christian phobic?"
Read
Good
it.
for you. Good for you, Tippy Bear. Good for you.
I just didn't know if this guy had followed me over from Chill Zone, because Chill Zone, I had only got in there and listened. I didn't say anything, so I didn't know where this guy came from.
Yeah, I'd never seen him before. So, but isn't it amazing how many of these atheists, they come in here, we start talking with them, then we ask them questions, and it doesn't take long for them to overdose on stupid pills.
When someone asks you if you're homophobic, it's sort of like them asking you, "Are you part of our secular church or are you a heretic?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that.
Yeah, he's saying define Christian phobia. So it's a non-rational fear of Christians.
It's so weird how homosexuality has gotten to such a pinnacle of like they're so proud about it, like there's no hiding it. It's super weird. When I saw
That and abortion.
yeah,
They're two
abortion for sure.
sacraments.
When I saw two dudes making out at the gym, like I felt like throwing up for 2
I
days.
don't even want to hear that. That makes me want to throw up.
I apologize, Darth.
The Bible says those that hate God love death.
Yeah.
There's definitely not life coming from homosexuality.
Yeah, I was more talking about abortion, but yeah, that's true too.
I mean, they both are like death in a way.
He
Well,
texted me back. No idea.
Here's one Jesse Lee Peterson video I'm not going to be watching. Understanding the Trans Woman's Psyche.
Amazing.
I will not be watching it, but I can bet it was amazing.
I bet there's a lot of betas in there.
Beta, amazing.
So you was born a man? Amazing.
Is
You
the
gotta
reason
admit that guy's funny.
is the reason you're trying to become a woman is because you're a beta?
You gotta love people that are that funny.
Yeah, he's funny, but he's a wacko too. So
He's also one of the only black people I've ever seen defending the Jim Crow laws.
yeah.
He's like, black people were living way better back then. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a history buff, so I can't really.
He's a little bit of an oddball, but
I suppose if you think about it in terms of the Christian worldview, I mean, maybe they were living more of them were living more consistently.
I mean, I think that's his point. Yeah.
By the way, Dodge City has just sent a formal notification. They are demanding an apology from Chicago.
Why?
Dodge City.
I guess I should. I should probably look this up.
What is Dodge City known for in westerns?
I don't even know what Dodge City is.
Dodge City is a famous city in westerns. Okay, Dodge City. You know, men always carrying around guns, having gunfights, shooting each other. The Wild West. Right? Okay. Yeah. Well, it wasn't the Wild West. It's the Wild West is tame in comparison to modern day Chicago.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad I love Chicago.
And who's been running Chicago for what 75 years? Which
Lori
political party?
Heavyfoot. The Demon Rats.
You know, I actually saw her face for the first time. She was she was in it was in Men in Black. She was up on the screen. You remember they were showing
apparently she's the lesbian.
You know, when they showed all the aliens posing as humans.
Yeah. Now I remember.
Oh, I like what Dennis Prager says. Everything the left touches, they ruin.
Yeah,
and they don't care, and they're proud of destroying cities.
Yeah, dude. Super happy I left Chicago.
In the stimulus bill, I've heard through word of mouth that there's a big payoff to cover the San Francisco deficit. Okay, they can't even keep the streets clean, and yet Nancy Pelosi is getting untold millions of dollars to cover the deficit in the city run by Democrats.
I still need to watch that video of her saying good morning or Sunday morning or whatever.
Good morning, Sunday morning. Well, she can't last much longer, okay?
Is it because the new bloods are going to run her out?
No. I mean, how much longevity is an 80-year-old woman gonna have? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It depends on how much adrenochrome she has her hands on.
Well, I'd be more talkative or doing a review, but I'm kind of tired. I'm going to go to bed soon in a few minutes. But we're going to be doing more reviews of videos on a regular basis because it's getting to be popular.
Heck yeah.
Well, I sent you one, so if you want to do that one tomorrow, that would be. I think that's an interesting one.
Which one did you pick?
Christianity's biggest problem.
Yeah.
I think we did that the other day.
It's about animal suffering. Oh,
we
really?
did that
Okay.
already. Yeah, we did that. You know what we might do? I think you sent me the other one, which we haven't done. Great atheist bomb drops. That looks
Oh
like
yeah,
I will definitely do that. That'll be great.
yeah, that one's
We
good.
got we got a picture of Christopher Hitchens. We've got Nihilo Grabass Tyson. We've got Isaac Asimov. We've got David thrown out of American Atheist Silverman, and then we've got what's his name? What's that guy's name? He's Sean Carroll. Yeah,
I
somebody.
haven't heard you talk about Sean Carroll before.
There hasn't been really much to talk about, because
Yeah.
he's not. He doesn't do. I mean, he's an atheist. I mean, we can do some reviews of his stuff. He's a really smart guy, and maybe we should do some of that. Somebody should send a notification to Cosmic Skeptic. Put some fertilizer on that beard. Otherwise, shave it off. Okay.
I love how him and Dilla Bloviator got into it. Like, I love watching atheists fight.
Well, Cosmic Skeptic and Frank Turek. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Frank Turek, but
I've
they
heard of
both
him.
had a little discussion on a radio show. It was pretty interesting, actually, and it was the whole idea of if you're going to claim that something is evil, okay, then you're going to have an objective good, which is that should be obvious to anyone. After you hear that, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so basically, what Frank Turek said is that God would be that which is ultimately and objectively good, and so that's kind of the argument he used.
Yeah, only God is good. Therefore, if something is good, it must reflect and cohere to the character and nature of God. So,
Right.
look.
But if something is
anything-
evil, then that means there has to be good, because evil is only that which is not good. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Look, anything the atheist says, they have no ground for it. They're bluffing.
Yeah, of course.
Everything they say is smoke and mirrors. Right? Look what happened in my interaction with Lawrence Krauss. He starts saying, "Well, we don't need God. We can describe nature through. We can just explain our world through natural laws." I said, "Good. What's ultimate that would impose that?" Oh, I go, why does there even need to be anything ultimate? I mean, he
Well, if there's
folded
nothing
like
ultimate,
a cheap
then
lawn chair.
Yeah.
If there's nothing conceptually absolute, then where do you get this idea of laws of nature? Because then there would be nothing that imposes and sustains. So then there would be no reason to expect that the future would be like the past. There would be no grounds for predication, right? Because then why would you believe that what is ontologically a dog would remain the same from moment to moment? Okay? You see, the reason why disbelief is so incoherent is because, first and foremost, God has revealed himself through all creation. They reject that. They suppress the truth and unrighteousness. But everything they do say, in order for it to have intelligibility, in order for it to have legs to run with, it's going to have to be grounded metaphysically in their worldview. But there is nothing identifiable that they can instantiate to ground the things that they believe in. So it's game over, lights out for these people. And my favorite thing is that when you finally corner them and they say, well, your world is absurd. And they go, well, yours is too. Say, good. Now you finally admitted that your unbelief is absurd.
And then any proposition after that would be an absurd too. So then indicting the Christian faith would then be an absurd proposition.
Then they have a choice. Then they have to sit there. They're either going to have to shut up and keep their mouth shut in their defiance against God's disclosure of himself, or they're going to have to defend their worldview, and they can't do it. Anyway, I'm going to get to bed. I will see you guys tomorrow.
What time are you on tomorrow, brother?
I don't know. Whenever I can turn it on. Probably late morning, mid-afternoon. While I'm working, I can open up my computer. It's better than talk radio.
Yeah. Roger that.
Thanks,
man.
Yep.